Beautiful, beautiful. I just want to say thank you to everyone that's come out tonight. It's nice to see some familiar faces and unfamiliar faces as well. Now, I will preface this with saying that I've never given a talk to a pub. It's usually at a conference, so hopefully the jokes aren't really shit. So as the title suggests, we're going to be talking about fighting viruses with fat, and hopefully that makes a bit of sense. Big shout out to Wazowski19 here. Hopefully people receive that one well. Now, I thought I'd start this presentation by just getting a gauge of how well people know how to identify what a virus might look like. So I'm just going to put a series of images up. I want to raise your hands if you think it's a virus. Keep your hand down if you don't. Okay, simple, right? First image here. Okay, what do we think? I mean, everyone's hands down. Okay, so it's an interesting perspective. Now, obviously, this is not Jeffrey Dahmer, but the actor of Jeffrey Dahmer. And maybe, it depends on who you ask, whether he is a virus. But similar to serial killers, some viruses are specific on who they like to kill. So take that what you will. All right, what do we think about this one? Is it a virus? Okay, we've got a hand. All right, that's my little brother, but that's fine. All good. It's always nice when he's getting involved. Nah, this is actually a parasite. It's known as Giardia. Now, it causes something called traveller's diarrhea, which is pretty shit, I guess, but that's fine. Oh, I didn't expect you guys to laugh at that one, but that's fine. How do we feel about this one? Come on. What do we think? Virus? Yes or no? Okay. Yeah, okay. Got some smart people in the crowd? No, sorry, it's a bacteria. This isn't a virus. Now, those little things hanging off are called flagella, but I actually have no idea about bacteria, so don't ask me, please. All right. How do we feel about this one? Is it a virus? Okay. All right, I like it. No, it's not a spaceship taking a shit. This is called a bacteriophage. Now, it is a unique virus in that it infects specifically bacteria. There are some people here that specify on those. Michaela, I'm looking at you, but that's good. All right, now, this is a gimme. What do we think about this one? All right, come on, man, hands up. That's a virus, yeah? All right, nice. Yeah, of course. This is a typical virus, okay? Come on, COVID's been everywhere. We should know what they look like by now. Now, what is a virus? As you can see, they come in all different shapes and sizes. I mean, look, Ebola looks like an earthworm. But anyways, you've got all different things here. Now, they're classified as a non-living particle. Now, a virus, by definition, is an infectious microbe. It has DNA or RNA, and this is encapsulated by protein, and that just protects it before it gets inside of our cells. And as I said here, they can infect the living cell. Now, an interesting fact, which I think for the germaphobes isn't that great, is that 380 trillion viruses are living on and inside your body right now. So when you step on the scales, that can be almost 2 kilos of your body weight. So I think that's pretty crazy if you ask me. Yeah, right? That's what I thought. Now, for perspective, viruses are really, really small. So, I mean, on this far right here, we have human hair, and then we have this fine beach sand, and if we go all the way down, we've got our little Zika virus. Really, really small, but although small, absolutely deadly. God, that was bad, wasn't it? Now, there's many different ways that we can get infected with a virus, and I mean, I thought I'd shed some light on this, because I've worked in retail for some time, and I've seen some people do some questionable things. Now, obviously, the first one is airborne transmission. So, you know when you're chatting with someone and they kind of spit and it gets on your eye and you're like trying to go through the conversation? I mean, all it takes is one virus particle from their mouth and you're infected. You've also got something called fomite transmission. So, I mean, that one guy at the workplace that might not wash their hands after they go to the bathroom, they shake your hand and you eat something and you've got diarrhea. Vector-borne transmission. So this is anything that might bite you. I mean, mosquitoes are a great example, but dogs, bats, anything like that. Mosquitoes are actually the most dangerous creature on the animal due to the things that they can give to us. So it's pretty crazy. And obviously, the one that isn't, my bosses are here, so I can't speak about it too much, but, you've got direct contact transmission through infected tissue or bodily fluids. So I guess we'll skip over that, eh? Now, once a virus does get inside through all of these different routes, you can see here that all it takes is one particle, it gets inside of your cells, it takes over that cell and makes millions of copies, so many that it bursts open that cell. So it's quite devastating, as you can see here, and I mean, we know how bad viruses can be. Now, our body has some really good things to fight viral infections, and there's known as the immune system here. I hope everyone's familiar with that. And it's broken down into the innate and the adaptive immune response. So the innate immune response is immediate, it's non-specific, and it has no memory. The adaptive immune response is highly specific, it remembers, and it takes days to weeks. Now, the way I like to think about the innate immune response is kind of like the bouncer. He sees a pathogen and he goes, "Nah, mate, you need to get a drink and then try and come back." And you know that's never going to work. Now, sometimes the bounce is not that great. Some people slide through the cracks, they get in, and that's where the adaptive immune system comes in and it goes sorts out the problem. And he also remembers. So when you try to do that again, it's not going to work. Now, I also want to highlight, we have some really good measures to fight viral infections, and that's known as vaccines. And I hope everyone's familiar, because we needed like 90% to get out of the house. Now, we've reduced the rate of polio to almost 0 cases as of 2015. And same with measles, mumps and rubella. And an interesting study has also shown that children under 10 years old are 40% more likely to live to their next birthday thanks to vaccination. So they're really great. And there also is one instance where, due to the vaccination program, we've been able to completely eradicate the detection of smallpox. So, they work really, really well. There's also something we can do, and this is also the joy of vaccines, is something called herd immunity. So if we were in a population where no one was vaccinated, you can see here, one person gets infected, they cough and splutter, everyone gets infected, the community's rampant. But these people here that have got vaccines means that the virus is no longer able to spread, it kills the viruses at the source, and people are able to survive. Now, there are some limitations to vaccines. They're not always the best, and that's due to the fact that vaccines can take a really long time to make, obviously with the exception of COVID-19, but 10 to 15 years on average prior to that, which is so long. Not everyone can receive a vaccine, and obviously, other than the tinfoil hat guy, that does include people such as pregnant people, you're really young, things like that. Vaccines act to prevent rather than treat. So they are something we need in advance, and with all the different viruses we see every day, that's not always ideal. Vaccines are targeted to one type of virus. So, COVID's a great example. We developed that when we saw COVID, but we need something against multiple viruses, right? Viruses can mutate to avoid vaccines, and I hope you appreciate the disguise. That was credit to my girlfriend, so that's great. Shout out to Julia. And new viruses emerge every day. So, that's not great either. People thought that there were some great alternatives to, COVID came out, everyone's like, shit, man, we need to sort something out. And so inhaling bleach was an idea. Please don't do that. Donald Trump endorsed it, but that's not good advice. There's people that think the virus isn't real, it's the metallic dust that's something to do with 5G, whatever. People were selling sugar pills. Mate, to pop the sugar pill, you'd be sweet. Nah, no good. People had their alternatives to masks and thought that was a good treatment. I just think he looks like a pelican, but whatever. And people were selling something called Corona Cure Coronavirus Infection Prevention Nasal Spray. Say that 5 times. That's obviously bullshit too. And I can't believe in France they had to do a news report to say that cocaine isn't a good treatment against coronavirus. And I don't know about you guys, but all of my mates got COVID. So I'm not trying to out anyone here, but that's fine. Now, antiviral medication is really good. And as you can see, we have a few different examples, and they aim to boost your immune system to fight the viral infection. And they can be administered by many routes, so you can inhale them, put them in your eyes, whatever, and they're great. Treatment is variable, and there is a limited therapeutic window. So with Tamiflu, you'll get the flu, you've got about 24 to 48 hours, and half the time you don't even know you're sick. So we do need something that we can use to fight multiple viral infections. Now you can see that doesn't look great, right? That's what we're working towards. So how can fat help us? You saw it in the title. And before you finish your beer and get KFC on the way home, I'm not talking about this type of fat. I'm talking about fat inside all of our cells, and that's this guy called lipid droplets. And I'm sure, unless you're in my lab, you don't know much about them, but they are really cool. And they consist of this kind of fat layer, and they have proteins and lipids on their outside. And so I thought it's always nice to see kind of the stuff that we do in the lab. So we like to infect some, and these are brain cells, and there's only 2, but they're not mine. And you can see here that we have with and without a viral infection. And I hope something that's evident with the lipid droplets in yellow is there's a massive increase in them, right? I'm like, why is that happening? Now, the obvious consensus is they're lipid droplets. They're full of fat. The virus needs energy to make one copy into millions, right? And the virus is going to have a fucking feast, mate. Look at that. He's getting into it. But what we found is these lipid droplets kind of change roles. They become these soldiers. I know they're cute, yeah? It's all right. And we found that these actually kill the virus. How good's ChatGPT? But I had no idea how this was happening. I knew there was more lipid droplets, but I had no idea what they were doing. And so you don't have to take anything from this image other than the immune system is super complex. But me being an ambitious, start my PhD, I'll solve the world, man. I'll cure everything. I jumped right in. That's good. Thank you so much. So there's one key characteristic about lipid droplets that make them really important, and that's that they have proteins on the outside, you know, make you big and strong. I'm not going to flex some skinny abs, but that's fine. Now, proteins are important to the structure, function, and regulation of the entire body. Very important in fighting viral infections as well. So, are lipid droplets using these proteins as weapons to fight the virus? And that's really largely what my PhD aimed to explore. Now, what we're able to identify through my research is that there are about 4,000 different proteins that interact with the lipid droplet, which is fucking heaps, man. So, there are 100 proteins, though, that after the viral infection, they interact with the lipid droplet. So maybe, these 100 proteins might be the weapons lipid droplets are using to fight the virus. So, me being a gamer, I've decided to spend the better half of 4 years looking at these 100 proteins to find out if they're interacting with lipid droplets and maybe if they're using them to fight the virus. And the reason this is so important is we'd hate to get a weapon and use it and not know what we're doing with it. And obviously, you know, there's some dramatic effects. Hopefully this blows up. Bang. There we go. So no good. Now, in the lab, we have this really nice microscope. It's called a fluorescent microscope and allows us to look really specifically inside the cell at what's going on. And so this is just an example of one of the 100 proteins that we investigated. What we have here is the lipid droplets in yellow and the proteins in blue. And so because none of these proteins have been shown to interact with the lipid droplet before, it's really important for me to show that they do. And what I hope you can appreciate is these rings around only a subset of lipid droplets, but this is the foundation for us developing something that we can use to fight the virus. Now, as you can see, I have a great relationship with what you guys might not be familiar with, but this is flasks. Now, every one of these flasks has 6 million brain cells, and I promise you, if you're in research, you know this is no easy feat. It takes a really, really long time. But hopefully, me doing all of these experiments will make me the weapon against the virus. And here's just me, kind of... Yeah, laugh it up. Yeah, oh yeah. I promise you I didn't want to put that in there. But hey, no, it's not the end, it's not the end, it's not the end. No, I got a couple more, I'm sorry, but thank you so much for that, that's fine. Now, although I didn't uncover the secret bullet, I haven't got the treatment against all viral infections. I want to highlight that the research that I'm doing, or basic research in general, is super important in helping fight viral infection. And so we wouldn't be able to produce a COVID-19 vaccine as quickly as we could if it wasn't for basic research. And so hopefully I've laid the foundation so that we can use these lipid droplets as weapons against those viruses. I mean, look at the legs on that guy. Thank you so much. I appreciate your attention. And none of this would be possible without the support of the lab. So thank you, everyone, as well. Thank you.
How good was that? I don't know if you guys noticed, but who's this in the middle there? Is that Ebony?
Yeah, she's the no-night boss, but my boss as well, so it's fine.
Is this nepotism?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. I'm pretty sure he was forced onto this stage. So how good did he go?
Thank you. It means a lot. It means a lot.
All right. Does anyone have any questions for Jay? Yep, just here.
Please be nice.
What do you say to people who think that anything related to mRNA is
gone for the
conspiracy?
Controversial question off the rip. No, it's fine. Look, people are entitled to their opinions, but I mean, it's no different to us getting infected with the virus on a day-to-day and our body producing antibodies against that virus. So if people understood, and this is part of these talks why they're so important, if people understood the immune system and how we produce antibodies, they'd realise that these therapeutics are actually quite safe, or really safe. So my opinion is, I'd love to educate people further, but you know, everyone's entitled to their opinion. So
even if they're wrong,
100%. But I'm not biased.
All right, we've got one over here.
Yeah, no, that's a fantastic question. So
the question was.
Sorry. You can.
Even though your research is basic research, what do you hope it would lead into, and what do you hope to do with it?
Okay, cool. And thank you again for the question. So I guess, the picture kind of summarizes exactly what I kind of before, summarizes where I want this to go and And kind of the mission in our lab is to be able to understand how these lipid droplets integrate in the immune response. And if we can understand how these proteins interact, how they fight the virus, we might be able to integrate these lipid droplets into something that we could administer to people. And that would, again, heighten the immune response so that you can fight the infection. Because the innate immune response is very incredible. Actually, without it, we wouldn't be able to survive. So I think that might be the answer to something that's pan-viral against multiple viral infections. Yeah.
Yep. One right here.
No, it's a good question. They are manufactured inside of the cell. So they use like the endoplasmic reticulum. So we're going back to biology if people are familiar with all of these things. But basically they, through a series of processes, they bud. So they are naturally occurring. But someone in our lab, actually Zara, who's in the crowd, she's actually trying to manufacture them in a way that we can make like a lot of them for therapeutic use. So she's exploring that as well. Yeah, it's a good question though.
Yep, one all the way at the back.
Yeah, no, it's a great question as well. There's actually been evidence
Jay,
of...
what was the question?
Oh, sorry. I get really excited. I'm so sorry. The question was, do we see lipid droplets in other cells? So my model was in brain cells. Then do we see them in other cells? Yeah. Was that a good summary?
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Thanks.
I'm so sorry. I get so excited. Basically, yes. The answer is there's been evidence of lipid droplets in every single cell, from plants to single-celled organisms. And so, yeah, it is something that is conserved in all series of life.
Alrighty, any other questions? Yep, one right here. Is there natural variation in how many lipid droplets are produced between people, and do you see a difference in how they fight viruses from that?
That's a fantastic question again. I, to be honest, haven't investigated that in the perspective of patient to patient and outcome. Pardon me, of infection, but there is cell-to-cell variability. So in the lab, we culture all different types of cells, and absolutely, if you have a cancerous cell, you might have more lipid droplets versus other cell lines, or ones in the liver where it's quite fatty, they'll have heaps of lipid droplets. So it's hard to kind of normalize how many lipid droplets are in an entire person. No one's really looked into that yet, but again, a fantastic question.
Alrighty, any other questions? Oh, yep, one right here. What model organism are you using?
These are human primary immortalized astrocytes, so they're human brain cells that we use for this model. But again, like I mentioned before, we see this phenomena in even in animals, mice infected with influenza, they increase lipid droplets as well. So we think it is something conserved across different species. Yeah.
Alrighty, I think that's all. Oh no, sorry, one right here.
Oh, perfect. Sorry, what was the question?
I actually didn't hear it.
I heard something about my brain cells, and I don't have many, so if that helps answer it, I'm not sure. Was that good?
That was great, thanks. All right.
Thank you so much. Thank you.